Welcome to today's talk. My name is Regina DeMeo, and I'm a family law attorney in Maryland and DC. And I'm so happy to have a lighthearted topic today. I have Michele Traina, and she is the creator of Divorce Diaries, which is based on her own experience after she got divorced almost 5 years ago, right?
Yeah. So the divorce was almost 6 years ago in April.
Okay. So it's like so perfect timing with Valentine's Day around the corner, which I learned is also being reframed as National Single Awareness Day.
What? I didn't even know. That's awesome.
I'm embracing that.
I love that they make it like it's like a PSA, National Single Awareness. If you know someone who's single, please call this number. Like it sounds like that.
It's funny. So,
I love that.
Yeah, one of my friends I think created it, and I think it's catching.
Love it. And I think that there's so much to do with it. And I didn't know that because I have anti-Valentine's Day show on the 13th. So I'm pushing that. I'm going to push that label for your
Yeah, I would not do anti-Valentine's. I tried to do that once with a piñata, and we bashed this heart-shaped piñata, and I had a really bad year. So I don't think we should go with that.
Well, I love that. Yes, National Single Awareness. I am single, and I've made many of my exes aware that I'm still single.
There you go. And you're thriving, which is the best part.
And thriving, yes.
So, some people would say divorce, that's such a, heavy topic. How can you make light of it, right? But you have taken your experience and turned it into a whole comedy show. So how did that come about?
Well, first of all, thank you again for having me. I'm very excited to be here with you. And I think that that's the biggest kind of opponent I have is, how can you laugh at divorce? And my retort is, how can you not? Because people say, well, you laugh and keep from crying, and absolutely not. Actually, I was crying more in my marriage, and now I'm laughing because I'm happier, and I can look back and in the present and see some of the struggles that I have as a single parent, as a working class mom, juggling my own business, juggling my own entertainment career. Like, this is a struggle, but there's humor in it. And if you can't make light of difficult situations and you can't poke fun, you're only going to feel depressed. So why, choose the route of sulking in it when you can start like using your craft? For me, it's performing your craft. If you make, milkshakes, or you make hair products, use that to fuel whatever you're going through, especially if it was divorce, because why not?
No, absolutely. But, so something that a lot of people are not willing to admit, and a lot of my clients do it, is move back home as an adult, right? And you are very honest about your experience with that.
I moved back home, and I was very transparent with every single person in my life, and moved back home because I, first of all, I was able to have family that had extra space to provide for my child and and for I had a dog too. He passed last year, but he was the best. Little handicapped. He had a handicap because he got hit by a car. It was just like, we show up, my dog is limping, I'm with my 2-year-old, she's still potty training, she has having speech delays, and I show up at my parents' house. My grandmother lived there, my twin brother. It was like the Italian Addams Family meets Archie Bunker meets Married with Children. It was like, okay, this is happening. And I thankfully had that support system. When some people would look at it like, oh, you're in your 30s. I was 32, moving back home. I looked at it as like, well, at least I'm not staying in that other space where it was isolated. I felt internally not myself. And that was a lot of my doing, because I changed a lot of who I was when I was in this relationship and in this marriage. And then it just kept going. And I learned that I really, I was so unhappy at what you can't change who you are. You know what I mean? If you really are, if you try to change yourself, you try to suppress yourself, you just become unhappy. So that's where I was at the end of my marriage, and isolated, alone, and I had a baby. And I, said moving back home with my parents is going to be the better option than staying in an unhappy marriage. And I just kept saying to myself, I can't believe I'm in my grandfather's old bedroom. My grandmother has diapers. She won't put them on. She was like giving us a hard time. She's old school Sicilian. No, she was Napolitan Italian. Just mean. She was a mean lady. I have to say, Grandma, you know you're mean. She rest her soul, but she wasn't very nice either. So like she would try to wave her cane. I mean, it was a crazy situation. My parents, I couldn't date because no guy I could bring back to my house. And here's my parents, my grandmother, my twin brother who still lives at home, and this is my daughter too. Like it was just uncomfortable. So I would like, I would have the good nights in the car. Like, oh my God, like I was 16 years old.
Right.
My father would put the light on, like, who's outside? What's going on? I see you. I have the light on. And I was like, okay, this is not working. So my mom would be like, you better not get pregnant. I was like, what? Stuff like that was just, you can't make it.
That's a good other issue to discuss, right? Because who in their like late 30s or 40s ever thinks that you're going to have that ridiculous discussion with people about STIs and birth control, right? And
I know.
Surprisingly, only 10% of men over the age of 35 actually have vasectomies in the US. What is up with that?
I think it's because they feel like it's a point of their manhood when it's like, but like I have friends who like, well, they'll get their tubes tied because their husband wanted them to get their tubes tied, but that's actually a more difficult procedure from what I know.
Right.
And like I have not wanted to have any more children. I mean, when I was first divorced, God, it feels like ages ago. I was on the hopeful outlook. I was at 32 and I was like, well, I'll probably have another kid because I thought I was going to immediately find the real Mr. Right. And too much to my chagrin, which is what inspired a lot of the Divorce Diaries too, with the dating part. I was like, is this a real joke with what's out there? And, not everyone agrees with me on like, the like maybe, Michelle, you're just looking for you're looking for the bad guy, or I date unavailable men. I have done some research and there's a lot of like, it's just very slim pickings.
Yes, it is.
And we like lower our standards because we're like, well, at least he picks up the phone when I call. Like, no. But I was okay with moving home because my family means the world to me. They make me laugh. And that's a big part. Like the part of the process of healing was the laughter. And there was many nights where my daughter, myself, and my parents, we would dance in my dining room, would play music and dance with her. My dad would tell stories, and like that was a part of how I grew up, and it just became a part of the post-divorce journey. And it also became a part of the healing. Like we would laugh about stuff. We would fight a lot because it was hard to move back home with your parents. But looking back at the time, now that I moved out 2 years ago, in the last 2 years, I've moved out. My dad has passed. My grandmother has passed. My mom, they sold a house. So much has shifted that I saw like that was for such a purpose in my life, to be able to share that end of my father's life and that journey of transition, right?
Yeah.
Laughter and love. And if I didn't move home with my family, I would not have had that time with my dad or my mom or any of that.
I also love how you're willing to talk about the struggles of single parenting and make it funny, right? Because so many people, want to minimize how difficult it is. And it's kicked my ass, to be honest. Right?
Oh, good, we can curse. Okay, good. Because I was gonna say, like, it's thrown me in the snow, put me down, and pinned me down to the ground. You saw before we taped, I had a moment with my daughter, and who struggles with I shouldn't say struggles. I struggle with how to change the way I process things and with the way she processes things. And how I was raised was, we're going to be loud and we're going to yell and we're not going to, this is how we communicate and show love. And we're going to have a fight 1 minute and be okay the next minute. And that's not normally how a lot of people interact or process. And so I have to adjust that. And I also have to juggle my patience with her patience and then keep up with the school moms. And I say this joke in my show. I do a character called Perfect Mom. And I think every mom, single mom, married mom, we all struggle with trying to keep up with the mom, right? but this
You're talking
perfect
about like the one that like bakes the actual cupcakes for the class and does everything like handcrafted. And meanwhile, you're like running to the grocery store, just getting like the giant already made. And that's the best you can do.
That's organic. I do everything organic. You know, my clothes are organic. My hair is organic. I have a dirty joke, but I'll do my dog, he's organic now. He drinks organic. So, I mean, I made a joke like the school moms are on juice cleanses and I'm on a vodka cleanse. And now the thing is like, they're on a juice cleanse, juice free. Like, I don't know. I was doing so just like that's the kind of like and the reality is this, like, I feel like as soon as I get caught up, I'm still not caught up.
Right.
And to juggle if your child has issues in school or little bumps along the way, you have to stop everything and just focus on that, because if you don't, like, shit will hit the fan. And it's hard to do that when you really love your work and you're like, but it's so much, you have to focus it. And there's moments where I just break down and say, you're going to live with your father. I say, like, and the thing is, like, I say it out of frustration. She knows I don't mean it, but I was laughing. I was like, I'm doing everything I'm not supposed to do when you go to the parenting class in divorce. But then, you know, it's that you have to you find the humor in accepting your flaws.
Right.
And being able to share those flaws so that somebody else can feel like they relate and they don't feel depressed or they don't feel anxious and they don't feel stressed out, that they're not this ideal or what they're supposed to be, because there are people that feel the same way that they do.
Right. And I mean, I'm going to curse because I can. You know, sometimes you have to laugh at the shit sandwich that life has handed you, right? I mean, just call it what it is. It's a shitty situation and we're just going to try and laugh it off.
I think that I've written a couple things when I've been when I was a teacher full time, and then just as a comic and as the situation with divorce and other things within my life. The shit stains are the beautiful parts. Like, that's where you find the beauty. After you clean it up, then right, that light shines through you. So if you can't find the light in that shit, like, then there's not life. I used to teach in Trenton, New Jersey, and I had one of the roughest schools I've ever worked in my life. I thought I was never going to be able to get through to the kids. And there was this ended up being one of the best experiences in my life. It was like a diamond in the rough, buried upon, like, you could have never been able to find it unless I landed there, of these like the beauty that came out of these kids. And I think the same thing goes for bad situations that you're like, oh my God, like, I gotta find the light somewhere. Otherwise there's, you know, then I'm not learning and growing. And I kind of hate saying that, because who wants to be in a shitty situation, but you know, you're just going to have to keep pushing through. And I think using humor for me, using performance is how I've always done it. And if other people, if my show specifically can motivate other people to find what it is that helps them, then any hardship they have in life will be a tiny bit easier, because they know they'll be able to take that hardship and filter it out through whatever their craft, whatever their role is, right?
That makes sense. So during COVID, how has that impacted your show? Are you still able to perform?
Yeah, not going to stop it. It's going to keep going. I do it virtually. I made a decision at the beginning of COVID that I'm going to offer it every other week. At one point it was every week. And then I was like, it's every other week. I'm going to keep it open to the public. And then if a law firm or a divorce brand wants to sponsor it as a paid, you know, that's how I can keep my business afloat. Okay. And also, you know, because it's a service, I'm rendering a service, but I also am not, you know, I'm also sensitive to understanding that my service right now for some people, although is necessity to laugh, that people just don't have funds. Some people don't have funds to go out and pay their rent. So, like, I get it. And I'm finding ways to keep my business afloat and moving and keeping it growing. So I do it virtually, and I did 2 in-person performances of it locally. And I did some press for it. I appeared on the Wendy Williams show. I just created content and put the word out to many different contacts and shook the trees of everybody I know to try to get on one of the shows to kind of promote. And I still do the same thing, and I got on. So just doing as much as possible to promote the idea and the concept and create content.
So are these shows on YouTube? Is that the best way to be able to see them?
So the actual live show where you would go to a comedy club to see is a virtual event every other every other Saturday at 9 p.m. through Zoom. Because that for me was the best way to show the live show in a private setting, right?
Okay.
So if you want to ever see the show, you can go to divorcediariesshow.com. I have one this Saturday at 10:30 because I have a private Divorce Diaries for a law firm before that, so we had to move the time. But then there's also I do live streams I was doing them every Monday and Tuesday at 10:30, but with my daughter's schedule and her bedtime, it was getting a little later. So and then also I just if I ever have additional events, or I post it on divorcediariesshow.com.
That's awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to catching the show. Thanks so much for taking the time to do this today.
Thank you for having me, Regina.
Absolutely. And happy Single Awareness Day.
Yes, happy Single Awareness Day. I love it. I have a medal for single awareness. Hang it up.
Thanks, Michelle. And
Thanks,
thank you all
Regina.
for tuning in.
Thank you.
See you next time.